Okay, so we're done now looking at what mainly Thomas has been doing on his branch line. Back at the sheds, everyone else was unfortunately feeling the pain of his absence. Gordon, Henry, and James, the largest tender engines, were frustrated at the fact that they now had twice as much work since Thomas was given his very own line.
We get no rest, they all complained. But the coaches only laughed. You're lazy and slack, they answered. Altogether, the engines were causing the Fat Controller a great deal of trouble.
Now, for this particular scenario, I can see it both ways. From the engine's point of view, yes, with the yard being down one tank engine, the workload will surely increase. On the other hand, though, is it really that much work? Even though he hasn't been shown for a while, Edward is still around and he hasn't complained once since his appearance on the show. He's done nothing but work hard, and he too is a tender engine. That be it the smallest of the big engine crew, but so what? Anyway, the railway has a turntable specifically for the tender engines because it is unsafe for them to move in reverse at fast speeds. Looking for empathy, Gordon tells Thomas one day how much it sucks without him.
You don't understand, little Thomas. We tender engines have a position to keep up. And for the Fat Controller to make us shun trucks, fetch coaches, and go on some of those dirty sidings, it's not the proper thing.
Oh, boo-hoo, Gordon. So you're not made for such work. Funny, I remember you saying something about how it was nice to take a break from the express and take some frustration out on the trucks. Maybe that was some other Gordon with the number 4 on his tender. Later that day, Gordon made his way to the turntable, which, believe it or not, was not as easy as it sounded. This day especially was extra windy, and with Gordon feeling grumpy, it was a perfect mix of getting nowhere. After several tries, Gordon's driver and fireman give up, and were forced to have Gordon pull the next train backwards, instead of head first.
Hello, called Thomas. Playing tank engines? Sensible engine. Take my advice, scrap your tender and have a nice bunker. Gordon said nothing. Even James laughed when he saw him.
That is pretty embarrassing, but this was somewhat his fault, too. Thomas also really knows how to rub salt in an open wound. Although he hasn't made a jab at Gordon since the beginning episode, he should have at least waited until some time had passed. As mentioned before, James couldn't hold on to his laughter either. Gordon told James to be careful, though, of which James didn't think he couldn't end up like him. It was then his turn to be rotated on the turntable. In the back of his mind, James was hoping he wouldn't have problems. Poor choice of thoughts, because James was too light for the turntable and ended up being swung 360 degrees several times over. Meanwhile, Gordon caught the whole thing coincidentally.
Well, said Gordon. Are you playing roundabouts? Poor James, feeling quite giddy, rolled off to the shed without a word.
As nighttime arrived, the three agreed with each other that things had to change according to them. They were tired of doing everything without Thomas, and were fed up with being laughed at when things didn't go right for them. Again, notice Edward isn't in on this session, or he is there in his berth with the doors shut, but knows these three are just doing themselves a disservice to their credibility. I'll take the latter of that guess. I think Edward is smarter than that. But alas, engines 3, 4, and 5 came to an ultimatum.
Listen, said Gordon. He whispered something to the others. We'll do it tomorrow. The Fat Controller will look silly. The engines are decided to go on strike.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes, smarty engines. We already know how Sir Topham Hatt is, so good luck with that. He's already not pleased with how you guys are working. I also noticed, why is it that when Henry is directly involved with a storyline, we end up getting two-parters? I know we won't get a single story every episode, but I just noticed this commonality. This episode was an okay one, but nothing really to get behind other than what will happen next. It's all build-up for the next story, which feels more like filler. And although Henry is involved, he doesn't even have any lines. Gordon and James are the two who end up looking like fools because they think locomotives with tenders are so high and mighty. Thomas, as usual, has been through a lot the last few entries, but he obviously still enjoys the art of the casual jabbing. I hope he learns to at least time his wisecracks a little better. Production-wise, there is a minor new view here, and that's the sheds of which Thomas and his friends rest in. Yeah, we have gotten showings of it before, but now we get a good look at the turntable during the day, and a clearer nighttime shot as well. For musical arrangements, we didn't get a whole lot this time, sadly. There are some tiny cues that come out of the woodwork, but they aren't legitimate themes that belong to any scene or character. Oh well, can't have them all. Next episode is Trouble in the Shed. Thanks for watching.